right now at 9.
I didn't want him to be there alone.
Victims and witnesses in a state of shock
and sharing their stories.
Tonight, the new troubling evidence investigators have uncovered.
What the shooter was doing leading up to the attack.
And remembering the victims.
Of my daughter.
We have live night team coverage of this Las Vegas massacre.
And there's more news tonight.
You've thrown our budget a little out of whack.
President Trump touches down in hurricane-ravaged Puerto Rico, but his visit comes with controversy.
Tracking warmer weather heading this way for tomorrow.
And an RMV roadblock.
Drivers trying to get inspection stickers get stuck. It's all now from the night team.
7 News at 9 starts now. Tonight at 9.
And then he didn't make it. He died.
Shock sets in.
Are we about to die? Is this it?
Everybody was screaming and yelling.
And tragedy hits home.
She was 1 in a billion.
Now, the victims.
And they don't get to go home. I get to go home today.
The heroes.
I really just want to tell them how grateful I am.
And the chilling discoveries behind the Las Vegas massacre.
And tonight, this is the growing memorial right there in Las Vegas. You're looking live at the countless candles, the flowers, the messages of hope for the victims after the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. Families mourning devastating losses tonight.
As law enforcement there uncovers horrific details about the suspected shooter, right now they still don't have a motive. Investigators say they know what the gunman was doing the days and weeks leading up to the attack. They're looking into the possibility he modified his guns to fire at a rapid rate and now say he transferred $100,000 to an account in the Philippines. Tonight, we're hearing from the mother of a woman from Tewksbury who was shot and killed while at the concert with her husband. She describes her daughter as 1 in a billion.
And every other story has a face. Here are 20 of the 59 victims who were killed in this senseless shooting. The sheriff saying they've identified all but 3 victims tonight. And there's an outpouring of support from around Las Vegas and across the country as people realize the impact this shooting had and how many lives were lost or changed forever. As investigators continue searching for clues in Las Vegas and with the impact being felt even here at home, we have night team coverage. We're going to start off with 7's Adam Williams, who's live right now outside of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, which is still a crime scene tonight. Adam.
It is, and an active crime scene. A lot of evidence to pour through here. Tonight, new leads for investigators as they search for a motive, including the suspect's plans leading up to and, as you mentioned, the night of the attack. Right now, investigators are still on the scene where about 48 hours ago, fans were sent running for their lives after shots began running out. Now, this is a look at the field of horror where the tragedy happened. You can see crews searching for clues. Still, the venue still littered with debris after people, again, had to run for their lives. Our coverage at 9 o'clock starts with Alex DePrado, who's live with me here in Las Vegas. Alex?
Well, Adam, here along the Las Vegas Strip, there is a growing memorial. The motive for the carnage isn't known still tonight, but we learned this afternoon that the gunman reported several, or more than a dozen, $10,000 gambling transactions just weeks before the shooting. Tens of thousands of people ducking for cover as gunshots ring out from above. The bullets coming from the 32nd story of the Mandalay Bay Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. As federal and local investigators continue poring over the crime scene, stories of heroism and bravery are coming to light.
I mean, you can hear the difference in the gunshots of the different rifles that he's shooting. And you just feel helpless.
This man was in a room just 2 floors below where the gunman was staying. He helped guide first responders to the shooter.
I don't think they knew that the shooter was in the hotel, and that's where I was trying to get a hold of somebody to let them know he's not over there. He's over here.
We're also learning more about the shooter, 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. His brother speaking out again today, saying something must have been wrong to drive Paddock to commit such a violent act.
There was something that happened to Steve that I'm not even trying to excuse anything or anything, but something happened that drove him into the pit of hell.
Authorities now say he set up cameras both outside and inside his hotel room.
I'm not aware of any transmission, but there was cameras. There was cameras located outside of the room and inside of the room, along with the firearms. I anticipate he was looking for anybody coming to take him into custody.
Authorities also say Paddock sent money overseas, likely to his girlfriend in the Philippines. Investigators say they need to talk to her.
I can't tell you her current whereabouts right now. All I know is the Philippines, and we are in conversation.
The president reiterating efforts to find out exactly how and why this happened.
He was a sick man, a demented man, a lot of problems, I guess, and we're looking into him very, very seriously, but we're dealing with a very, very sick individual.
Now, vigils are being held across the country to honor the 59 lives lost and the dozens of others that still remain in the balance. Authorities tonight say they have now found guns in 3 different locations linked to the shooter. The Mandalay Bay Hotel, the suspect's home, about 80 miles from Las Vegas, and also today, they found them in Reno, Nevada, where he has a home. We're live in Las Vegas. I'm Alex DePrato, 7 News 19.
Alex, let's talk about the injured right now. I know that the injuries vary from person to person, but we're talking more than 500 people who were injured. Any word on how they're doing tonight?
Adam, most of the people have been released from the hospital. Of those 500 injured, 100 remain hospitalized, 45 in critical condition. And coming up at 9:30, we will take you to a blood bank here in Las Vegas where people have been lining up for 2 days to help the victims. Adam?
Alex DePrato live with us once again here in Las Vegas. We'll see you again shortly. The story of one of the 59 victims killed in the attack hits so close to home. A Tewksbury woman who was at this concert with her husband was killed here. And her husband did try to protect her, as did other people, so many strangers coming out. And tonight, her mother, understandably emotional, talking about her sudden loss.
I was devastated. I was in shock. No mother deserves to get a phone call like that about their baby.
Rhonda LaRock was just 41 years old. The night team's Justin Bork is live in Tewksbury right now, where he spoke with the woman's mother earlier. Justin?
And Adam, I spoke to Rhonda's mother and aunt today, who said they were just traumatized by what happened here. But in our discussion, there were brief moments of relief as they just talked about the kind of person Rhonda was. Someone they said was a perfect wife, daughter, and mother.
They were the perfect little family, and I love my daughter.
Priscilla Champagne fights back tears as she remembers a woman she says was beautiful inside and out. Rhonda LaRock, a 41-year-old wife and mother, taken in an act of violence.
But my first thought waking up this morning is, I'll never see my baby girl again.
Rhonda went to Vegas with her husband, father-in-law, and young daughter. The concert tickets were a gift, the first leg of a family vacation.
She was enjoying country music, and they were going to go to Disney and take their baby girl to Disney.
Priscilla says Rhonda's daughter left safely with her father-in-law before the last act of the concert, just minutes before the shooting started. Rhonda was caught in gunfire, her husband Jason right next to her as she passed.
He's distraught. He's wifeless. He doesn't know how he's going to do it with his daughter. He could never replace Rhonda.
Priscilla says Rhonda was one in a billion, a woman of faith and family with a successful career at a Cambridge design firm, a devout Jehovah's Witness who dedicated her life to helping others, someone nobody will ever replace.
I'm sure that Jehovah God is upset that one of his beautiful, beautiful people is no longer in this world.
And Rhonda's mother tells me she's not sure what the funeral arrangements are going to look like. She actually wants to talk to her husband to get his preferences. Problem is, he's still in Vegas right now trying to explain this loss to their young daughter. We're live in Tewksbury, Justin Bork, 7 News 19.
All right, Justin, thanks. And as police search for a motive, which is still the looming question tonight, they're learning more about the suspect and people close to him, like his girlfriend, who at one point was living with him in one of his homes outside of Las Vegas. She was discovered to be in the Philippines right after the attack. Let's go back to Boston now. Amaka Ubaka with the connection between the two and what we know tonight, Amaka.
Well, Adam, officials say Stephen Paddock was married twice but never had any children. He was living with his most recent girlfriend outside of Nevada at the time of the massacre. Police are now hoping she can provide new information on the investigation. As investigators learn more about gunman Stephen Paddock, they are hearing what his girlfriend has to say.
Currently, she's a person of interest.
Paddock lived in Mesquite, Nevada, 80 miles northeast of Las Vegas with 62-year-old Mary Lou Danley. Police say she was out of the country when the massacre happened in the Philippines, but they are now calling her a person of interest.
The investigation with her is ongoing, and we anticipate some information here from her shortly.
Officials say Paddock transferred $100,000 to the Philippines in the days before the shooting, but investigators are still trying to figure out if the money went to Danley. Her nephew, Jordan Knight, who was interviewed in Australia, doesn't think his aunt is involved.
I knew that she would have had nothing to do with it, but she was nothing person to do that.
Knight says he spent a couple of nights with Paddock while visiting his aunt.
What sort of feeling did you get from him?
Didn't seem like he was the type of guy to do that. Seemed like he just looked after my auntie and that's it.
And is stunned to learn what happened.
Did you go to visit their house where they live?
No, we didn't go there.
Did he ever talk about guns or anything like that?
I didn't even know he knew about guns.
And former neighbors say they didn't know much about the couple, but that Paddock came and went as he pleased. It's unclear if his girlfriend has returned to the U.S. for questioning, but police say they are in contact. Adam, back to you.
All right, Amaka, thank you. So we were talking about the suspect's girlfriend. That's really just one piece of this bizarre puzzle investigators are trying to re-piece here. They're looking at the weapons that they say he used. In addition to that, after finding almost 24 guns stashed in his suite, they're wondering how he was able to fire so quickly, the rapid fire that you heard in the video that's out there. Let's go back to Brandon Gano. He's live in Boston to tell us more about the weapons police say that were up there and perhaps some modifications that could have been made to them. Brandon.
Absolutely. Adam, as the investigation is just getting started, officials say part of the reason this attack was so deadly because the shooter was able to fire off so many rounds so quickly. Well, tonight, a gun store owner in Texas explains how the shooter may have been able to do so with a legal but controversial modification.
The man who unleashed hundreds of rounds of gunfire into the Las Vegas crowd had two accessories called bump stocks that may have allowed his semi-automatic rifles to fire rapidly and continuously as if they were fully automatic.
So bump fire stocks typically retail in the $150 to $200 range.
This gun store owner in Texas explains what a bump stock is and how it works.
This internal reciprocating part is the part that gets mounted to the firearm. To operate, instead of pulling the trigger with your finger, you actually place your finger all the way through the trigger guard and place it on the off side of the grip. So as the gun fires, it recoils, okay? It recoils back, and then you keep a steady pressure on it and then pull the trigger back into your finger again, and that causes the repetitive firing.
Authorities found two bump stocks in Paddock's hotel room. They're investigating whether those items were used to modify his weapons used in the massacre.
ATF is participating in that evaluation. I can't give you an answer on whether any of them are automatic or not, but we are aware of a device called a bump stock. And that enables an individual to speed up the discharge of ammunition.
A semi-automatic weapon requires one trigger pull for each round. With a fully automatic firearm, one trigger pull can empty a clip very quickly. A bump stock manipulates the trigger to fire quicker than a person could on their own, but not nearly as fast as a fully automatic weapon.
A bump stock does not turn your normal semi-automatic rifle into a machine gun, and that is the biggest misunderstanding with these.
Okay, so although bump stocks are legal and widely available, they have been highly criticized by lawmakers, and as you just saw, gun officials say about anyone can install them. In the newsroom, Brandon Gano, 7 News 19.
Brandon, thanks. And through all the stories of tragedy we've been hearing, we're also hearing stories of heroism and people who were so selfless, including a bartender. She was working the bar right back here at the concert and jumped from behind the bar to a man who was dying so that he wouldn't die alone.
Everybody was running out the door and something wouldn't let me go.
Heather Goose was bartending at the Route 91 festival when the gunshots rang out. She says people began dragging the injured through the bar to a makeshift triage center on a nearby street.
And then there was just random people stopping and helping people and picking people up off the ground.
She ended up comforting a man who had suffered a wound to the head.
I had my hand over his hand and I could kind of feel his fingers like wrapped around my hand.
But quickly she realized he wasn't going to make it.
Within 10 minutes, like we knew that he was gone and there was nothing that we could do.
As she was holding him, his cell phone rang. It was a friend checking to see if the man was okay.
And he said, "Is he hurt?" And I said, "Yes, he's hurt." And he's like, "Is he?" And he just kind of stopped and I said, "He didn't make it."
His friend gave Goose the man's name, Jordan. Then another call came in. Jordan's mother. After giving her the terrible news, Goose got his girlfriend's phone number. She was on lockdown at a nearby resort.
I told her, I was here. You know, I've been with him this whole time. I promise you I will not leave him.
She stayed with him for hours.
I was sitting with him. I didn't want him to be there alone.
Goose hopes her actions provide Jordan's loved ones with some small comfort amid so much heartbreak.
I didn't want him to just be a no-named body. I knew who he was, and now I had an obligation to make sure that everybody knew who he was.
Jordan's parents sent out a message thanking the first responders and all the people who were with him in his final moments. Tonight, one of the most recognizable survivors of the Boston Marathon bombings is sharing his sympathy with the people of Las Vegas. Jeff Bowman took to Facebook last night with a message of hope, reaching out to the victims of the Las Vegas shooting to share his message, and you can read along. Here's what he wrote. The most important advice I can give is to remember that healing your mind is just as important as healing your physical, visible injuries. It took me too many years and dark moments to realize that, and it is so, so important. You will walk again, you will laugh again, you will dance again, you will live again. And so far, that very post by Jeff Bowman has about 3,000 likes and growing, and it's been shared so many times on Facebook as people see a symbol of our strength in Boston, providing some strength to the people here. So stay with 7 News as we continue our coverage on the Las Vegas massacre. You can go to our website at WHDH.com or follow along on social media updates for on-the-go updates. And our coverage from Las Vegas will continue, but for now, we'll send it back to Boston.
All right, thank you, Adam. And there's more news tonight. Police in Brockton searching for answers after a wild chain reaction crash. Tonight, police are still trying to figure out where this took a deadly turn. The night team's Kimberly Bookman is live in Brockton with the very latest.
Well, Amaka, at this hour, the scene is clear. It involved a dump truck, and you can still see the tracks to that truck going up on this grass and landing just 6 inches from that house.
Crushed and crumpled. Authorities say the Chevy SUV was in the middle of a 3-car crash and its driver, who was simply heading into work nearby, died.
Awful. It was horrible. I've never seen that in my lifetime.
It all happened just after 2 p.m. on Brockton's North Quincy Street. Authorities say the driver of this Audi, who was on the radar of police in a neighboring town earlier in the day, rear-ended the Chevy SUV driving in front of her. it caused a chain reaction.
That one vehicle struck the rear of the other vehicle and pushed it directly into the path of the oncoming truck.
This 10-wheel dump truck carrying 22 tons of dirt swerved and rolled over, landing just inches from this woman's home.
When I opened my daughter's window, I could reach out and touch the truck.
Witnesses say the driver of the Audi, believed to have started this all, took off.
I talked to her, told her to stay in the car. She ended up on my front lawn. And when I came out, I was like, stay in the car till the cops come, and she didn't. She ended up leaving the keys in her car and walking away.
She was found not too long after and interviewed by police.
We're looking into whether or not the individual operating that vehicle, that Audi, was under the influence of something.
Authorities are convinced that if not for the quick thinking of the dump truck driver, many more may have been killed or hurt.
I think that obviously he did a good job trying to avoid the house, but unfortunately couldn't avoid the vehicle, it appears.
And at last check, no one was in custody. There had been no arrests. At this point, authorities are not releasing the name of the victim. Reporting live from Brockton, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News, Night Team.
Also from the night team.
The job that's been done here is really nothing short of a miracle.
Touring the Trundle.
Now, I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack.
And stirring up controversy.
We don't have to get on our knees and say, thank you, President Trump.
His visit on Puerto Rico don't change nothing.
During a crisis in Puerto Rico.
And we're following breaking news now in Puerto Rico. The death toll on the island rising to 34 people. The news comes after President Trump met with Puerto Ricans impacted by the devastating hurricane. And today, his latest statements were also met with controversy.
There's a lot of love in this room. A lot of love in this room. Great people.
President Trump in Puerto Rico meeting with storm survivors, even tossing paper towels to them. During his visit, the president praised Puerto Rico's governor, FEMA, and first responders.
If you look at every death is a horror. But if you look at a real catastrophe like Katrina, and you look at the tremendous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that died.
President Trump did pledge to help Puerto Rico, but added this.
Now, I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack because we've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico, and that's fine. We've saved a lot of lives.
The president shook hands with the mayor of San Juan, who harshly criticized him for a slow federal response. But they did appear cordial. Puerto Rico's governor is hoping the president's visit will lead to an increase in federal aid.
I think it's inescapable to see what the damage has been done in Puerto Rico. We've calculated that the damage of the storm is extensive. And what we want is from that aid package to receive the funding that is consistent with the damage.
Nearly 2 weeks after the storm hit, frustrations are mounting.
So what expectations do I have of President Trump? Not many.
Please, like us a little bit. Help us.
And the San Juan mayor says she later told President Trump that this was about saving lives and not politics. The president then taking an apparent swipe at her when he said the governor was not playing politics.
Also from the night team, Reading police investigating after a man is found tied up on the side of the road on Sunday night. They say this was not a random act and that the victim was targeted, assaulted, and bound with duct tape near North Main Street. Anyone with information is asked to call police. And a Medford school on lockdown after a man armed with knives was seen acting suspiciously outside. Sky 7 was over Columbus Elementary School earlier today, where the suspect sat against a wall surrounded by police. You can see him right there. The school was in lockdown for an hour. Police say the man never tried to enter the school, and negotiators talked him into handing over those knives.
A Mass state trooper on trial today in New Hampshire following a violent arrest that unfolded in May of last year. 2 troopers facing assault charges after they were seen on video punching and appearing to kick and chase a suspect. And today, one of those troopers faced a judge. The night team's Steve Cooper has the full story for us.
In our society, no one is above the law.
Opening arguments in Nashua for a trooper on trial. Massachusetts State Trooper Joe Flynn, who prosecutors say used excessive force last year when he's involved in this arrest of 50-year-old Richard Simone of Worcester, who led police on a high-speed chase. Video of punching the suspect multiple times after he surrendered was caught on camera by Sky 7 HD overhead. Prosecutors say Flynn and New Hampshire State Trooper Andrew Monaco crossed the line.
And assaulting a man who was on all fours, surrounded by police officers, and surrendering is not reasonable.
Jurors were shown the Sky 7 HD coverage, video that went viral before both troopers were arrested days later and charged with simple assault while on duty. Trooper Monaco already pleaded guilty and received a suspended prison sentence under a plea deal to testify in Flynn's trial and to never work in law enforcement again, plus complete an anger management program. Flynn's attorney told jurors his client, who's been placed on paid leave, didn't commit any crime and was simply assisting in the arrest of a suspect who officers had reason to believe may be armed.
Joe did not commit a crime, and that Joe instead had come up from Massachusetts on a chase, which was his duty.
Testimony is expected to last a couple of weeks in the case, and we're told that Trooper Flynn is slated to take the stand in his own defense here. In Nashua, Steve Cooper, 7 News Night Team.
Yahoo still picking up the damage from a recent hack attack. The company is now tripling what was already the largest data breach in history, saying the hack affected all of its 3 billion accounts, not the 1 billion they had announced last year. The stolen information includes names, email addresses, birthdays, and more. Yahoo has customers change their passwords and security questions after the hack. And the night team is just getting started.
Coming up here, some sticker shock. Drivers demanding answers after running into some inspection issues with their cars.
Plus, the Red Sox getting ready to mess with Texas. The team gearing up for a showdown with the Astros.
And then ready for takeoff, the Patriots getting ready to unveil a special new member of their team.
More sunshine tomorrow, but it begins a warming trend. Numbers in a few minutes.
And a special blessing for those who protect and serve. But today the attention was turned to the pets that work with the state police. It's all coming up right here on 7 News at 9.